Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Exercise is Bullshit, which of course stands for bodybuilding utilizing logical lifting and scientific heuristics to inform training. I am joined today by one of my colleagues and also one of my coworkers at Reform Fitness. Amy Walz joins us today. Amy, why don't you say hello and tell us a little bit about yourself? Tell me kind of your background, how you got into fitness.
Yeah. Well, I'm Amy, obviously. I currently am at Reformed Fitness and I'm an exercise physiologist doing virtual one-on-one health coaching and personal training, mainly focusing on female business leaders and helping them build habits to actually shed fat and keep it off with the habits that they built. How I got here, I went to school in University of Minnesota Duluth, and before then I didn't
Go
really know.
Bulldogs. Is that the
Yes.
Bulldogs? Right?
Yep.
Yeah. Go Bulldogs. All right.
Yep. When I first started, I didn't know exactly where I wanted to go with it, but I found myself in the gym my freshman year and fell in love with it. And by my second year of college, I was already personal training and group fitness instructing for the faculty at University of Minnesota Duluth. So that's kind of how I got started in it, and then got my bachelor's degree in exercise and rehabilitation sciences, as well as psychology, because that is also another interest, which is why health coaching kind of came into fruition a little bit later on.
Awesome. And then what was your introduction to the fitness industry? Where did you get started? What did kind of your first job and role look like? And then how did that transition to where you are now with Reform Fitness?
So, right out of college, I worked at a boutique fitness studio doing high intensity strength training. And that was kind of the first um, thing outside of college, my first actual job in this realm in the fitness industry. And that actually taught me a lot. Very, very good job. And then kind of transformed and transitioned into virtual and doing things with Reformed Fitness, partially because I wanted to do more than just strength training. I wanted to be able to impact people's lives more than just in the gym.
Yeah, talk to me a little bit about that because I know when I first came and we worked at the same boutique gym for a number of years. I was there a little bit before you at a different studio. Thankfully, I didn't really have a background in exercise science, so I had a personal fitness minor or something in college. But I had kind of cut my teeth at another high intensity training studio before then, so I was sort of inundated with HIT kind of from the beginning when I started personal training. What was that like for you coming from a traditional personal training background or exercise science background where it's all NASM and ACSM and 3 sets of 10? Like, how did that process work like for you? And was there any kind of cognitive dissonance coming in? Like, how did that feel when you were like, oh, just 1 set? This guy's an idiot. Like, how was that like?
Yeah, it was definitely different. Not at all what I was kind of expecting to go into, from learning what I learned with my degree and 3 sets of 10 and training 5 days a week, being at the gym, at least hour-long sessions. Like, that's kind of what you're taught in school, with this degree. And then transitioning right away into, okay, now high intensity, 1 set to failure, was a very big mindset shift. And at first, when I was reading about it and learning more about it, I was like, okay, I think, this could do something. But what really got me to that transition was the first workout. When I
Yeah.
went through the very first high intensity workout and I realized training to muscle failure and potentially even beyond was significantly different than what I was doing in my workouts. I am working way harder in 30 minutes than I was hours long in the gym doing whatever the heck I was doing.
Was I part of because I was on the education team was I part of your training when you came on? No,
I
I
don't
don't
think
think
you
so
were.
either.
No.
Yeah, I think I came on after you did for that side of it. Yeah, that was always fun for me seeing like the 22-year-old guys and girls that thought they were hot shit in school. And like, oh, these guys don't know what to, oh, I'm gonna do one set of chest press, oh, right, and then get to take them on there till they want to throw up. So that was always fun for me as well, and I'm sure like most of us that are in the high intensity training space all kind of had that aha moment and that shift
Mhm.
where it's like, oh, that's what intensity feels and looks like. Yeah, I've been doing this wrong all along.
Yeah.
So you kind of told me a little bit about what you do from the health coaching aspect now, and sort of your ideal client. And we'll talk a little bit more about this as well. But what's kind of your 30-second elevator pitch? And don't give me the exact memorized one from Reform Fitness. Like when you think about you meet somebody on the street and you go, oh my gosh, this is the type of person that I want to work with. How do you kind of pitch what you do for them, so our listeners can get a better idea of what kind of differentiates you in the industry?
Yeah. So I would basically pitch saying that I'm a virtual exercise physiologist. So this can be done anywhere, whether it's workouts, whether it's health coaching. But ultimately, what I want to be able to do for you is build habits that are sustainable within your life that you can continue to do when you're 80, 90 years old. So almost the first question I'll ask anyone is, what do you want to do 20 years down the road from now? Do you want to still be able to, hike with your kids, grandkids, get up and down off the floor playing with them? Do you still want to do the things that you love? And I want to make those habits in your lifestyle happen so you can.
Yeah, that's great. I think that's perfect. So one of the things I like to ask all my guests on here, because I like to keep it relatively science-based, evidence-based, even though that term has been kind of hijacked recently over the last few years, and I try to shy away from it sometimes. But in general, I think it's important when you have sort of an evidence-based background or an evidence-based philosophy to really be open to change, right? Science, regardless of what we see on Instagram and social media, is really about being open-minded and open to changes in evidence. So what is something besides just that general shift from like I graduated school and all of a sudden
Yeah.
everything changed? What is something in the last 3 to 5 years maybe that you've taken a major 180 on as far as what you used to believe, maybe even dogmatically, and now you've kind of changed based on mounting evidence to the contrary?
Yeah. Well, when I first started doing high intensity training and training people in this format, that was and is, when you look at research, the best thing that you can do. And there's a lot of research out there that you don't need to do anything else. So you don't need to do any extra cardio, you don't need to do any extra stretching because you're getting your heart rate elevated within the workout. You're getting, if you're working through a full range of motion, you're getting that full stretch in those muscles. So you don't need to do anything else. All you need is, 2 times a week of your strength workouts. And that's what I did for a long time and what I told people and what I truly believed. Um, but realizing, I think this has been the past like 2.5 years, realizing that I kept myself in an exercise box by doing that. And so now my mindset is a little bit more open to doing more things. So I'm not going to say I love cardio because I don't like actively doing it, but I love the way that I feel after it. And so why wouldn't I incorporate that? Why wouldn't I just add that on? And I know that I'm getting better cardiovascular benefit than I would if I had just done my strength training. Same thing with yoga. I love doing yoga. It calms my mind, stretches my muscles, makes the stress go away somehow. And so incorporating those things and not feeling bad about it. Like research and a lot of us in the high intensity world will say, if you're doing too much, you're going to overwork your body. You're overworking your muscles, you're not getting enough rest. And if your body's not feeling exhausted, I've switched that mindset is you can do other things. You can go to the Pilates class just for fun. Who cares? You're still getting something out of it and you're getting that extra movement that is not going to hurt your body. So
Yeah.
I think that shift over the past 2.5 years of just doing more and broadening my modes of exercise.
Yeah, I love that. I think that's a super healthy mindset too, that sometimes gets lost in our industry specifically. I mean, I think a lot of, people on the other end of the spectrum are like, do more, you always need to do more, do more, do more. And there's certain sects of high intensity training that it's like, if you do more than 2 workouts for 20 minutes a week, you will literally die. You're going to kill yourself if you do anything. It's like, this is all you need to do ever. And it's like this constant pursuit of almost like, what's the one exercise I can do for 30 seconds that's going to give me all the benefits I need cardiovascularly and metabolically and all that. It's like it doesn't exist, right? And I think that's a great point too. Like humans were made to move. Do I think people can do too much? Certainly.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Do I think the average person that's, desk jockey and, isn't getting 2000 steps per day is going to like hurt themselves if they're working out 5 days a week? No, not at all, because their intensity level is so low. And if they're doing smart training like we do, like you do, that's going to give them the biggest bang for their buck. But one of the things I've noticed in my career that's, almost 10 years now in this industry is like, we really handicapped people in the mindset that I had for a long time as well, which was similar to yours, where it's like they get stronger and they want to do more stuff. And for the longest time, I was like, no, 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 don't overdo it. Like, don't take
Yep.
spin class. That's dumb. Don't do this. And it's like, why are we, and we lost a lot of clients at the previous place that we used to work at together because we were almost shaming them for wanting to do more. But it's so natural if you haven't been feeling good, if you haven't been taking care of yourself for so long, and you start getting some strength and some confidence and all of these things back. Like, no, I want to be an active person. Like, I want to be somebody, like maybe I want to do a half marathon, or I want to do, a bike race or whatever it is. It's like, yeah, go do that. Just don't let that distract from the main thing, which is like, let's prioritize our strength training. Let's get the most out of that. And then if you have that extra energy and you want to do all that other stuff, I think that's, totally fine. So I would agree
Yeah,
100%.
absolutely.
So
And
tell me a
muscle,
little,
oh,
go
sorry.
ahead, go ahead. No, please.
And I think, muscle is like the determinator of your longevity. But I think it's just as important for you to be able to move in different modes of exercise, like I already mentioned, but overall for your longevity, cognitive health, everything, it's not just strength training. Like all of that has a point to increase your longevity, increase your health span. Um, and I think, yeah, I was on the way end of 2 workouts a week, 30 minutes, don't do anything else. And I believe that now I am very wrong about that. If you're feeling good, if you're feeling like you want to do more things, go do it.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah, 100%. And I think too, we tend to attract a lot of people in this industry that maybe don't prioritize strength training, but they have other hobbies, they have other things that they want to do. And, one of the things we learn in school, right, through your exercise science major is about GAS, so general adaptation syndrome. And it's so like, I do 100% believe that if you did any one thing and there was only one thing you could do, it should be strength training, and it should be prioritizing full body strength training workouts. But if you also like bike riding, like you should ride your bike, because you can do squats all day, but you're never going to be better at riding your bike unless you actually ride your bike. And there's this kind of thought, and it's very Arthur Jonesian kind of belief that's been carried over into our industry, where it's like, oh, you want to run a marathon, just strength train, like you don't need to run. And I can tell you firsthand that that is bullshit, because I started running, and I'm planning on training for a marathon, which is not going well the last couple of weeks because it's been cold and I haven't run at all. But in general, like I almost died running a mile. And it's like, I know for a fact that my VO2 max is better than the average person that doesn't lift weights at all, but it's definitely not the same. And do I think VO2 max is that important? No, but it's definitely not as good as somebody who doesn't strength train but runs every week. So like, if I want to get my VO2 max up, or if that's something that's important to me, yes, the strength training is the most important piece, but you also have to do the actual activity that you want to get better at. There's no way around it. So
exactly.
we've kind of gone off on a tangent there, but I think it was an important one. So tell me a little bit more about your style of training. So maybe we've got some new listeners that are not familiar with HIT and what exactly that means. So tell me a little bit more about your understanding of HIT. What does that look like? And kind of why do you train the way that you do?
Yeah. HIT is a very high intensity strength training workout. So you do one complete set of an exercise, but you do that set with everything you've got. So you're working, let's think about a leg extension. You are going through the reps slower pace, so you're not using any momentum. That just reduces the risk of injury and tension on the joints. Moving at a slower pace, and then hitting the point of momentary muscle failure, which is that point where you physically can no longer lift that weight anymore. And then if you want, more of an intense feeling at that momentary muscle failure point, doing a little bit of advanced overload techniques afterwards. So whether that be extended holds or breaking down the weight to do a really quick second set, but no rest in between, um, and just making it very efficient for a strength training workout. So they generally look like 30 minutes, completely full body, and usually I recommend 2 to 3 times a week.
So what is the biggest differentiator, I guess, in your mind between that and other more traditional training styles when somebody's going to the gym, say 3 to 5 days per week, doing, arms, then chest, then, like a bro split legs kind of thing. Like what is the benefit of high intensity training the way you've described versus a more traditional, maybe bodybuilding style routine?
Yeah. Well, first off, you're going to get it done in less time. You don't need to spend as much time in the gym, and you're working your full body every time. So that means that all of your muscles in your body will then have to recover and do more work in the days that you're resting, and actually get stronger. So the more muscles that have to recover, the more you're going to have to burn at rest. So your resting metabolic rate will increase significantly higher on the days you're not training than if you were to just do arms one day, then you're just recovering, your arms and those muscles, and then legs the next day. And you just get more out of less time.
So from, let's say, when you first started as a personal trainer, when you first started at this boutique studio, to where you are now doing virtual personal training sessions all over the country, all over the world, what are some things that have changed for you as a coach in particular from when you first started to where you are now?
Oh, that's a good question.
Maybe just in your training style, how you approach a workout with people, maybe some things that have changed from just what you've noticed coaching a lot more clients now and what people are capable of, anything that pops into your head.
Yeah. For sure, more confident. Giving the virtual aspect, you have to portray yourself a little bit more confidently. They can't physically see you, and they can't sense you right next to them, and so you have to be more confident in your coaching, and you have to actually notice every little nitpicky thing and say it out loud and say it with enthusiasm too. You have to train with enthusiasm, especially from that in person to virtual aspect, and that switch. I also do a lot more variety. So before, when I was at the boutique studio, it was a lot of machines. And so we worked a lot of machines, some dumbbells occasionally, but now I can hop on a virtual workout and someone can be on the beach and all we have to work with is a towel. And I can give them just as good of a workout as, if they were in the gym on machines and working with dumbbells. And there's no way that 4 years ago I could have done that.
Yeah, I think that's great. And the shift that's happened with COVID and being able to work online virtually too has been great from a coaching perspective for me as well, to really dial in on, trim the fat, so to speak, of like, what am I saying that's actually important and is going to help somebody with their set versus like, what am I saying just because I'm narrating this set and being a cheerleader or however you want to think about it. So you kind of mentioned earlier doing advanced overload techniques, which some of our listeners may be familiar with and others may not. Do you think it's actually possible for somebody to train like this on their own? Or do you think it's essential that they have a coach or a training partner? Because obviously, if people have not trained this way before, to just imagine that they're going to go out and all of a sudden figure out what failure is kind of hard to picture.
I think you can absolutely do it on your own and you can get to that failure point, but having a coach you through that is going to make you work that much harder. So I know for me personally, when I work out on my own, I still do the same, working to failure. I give myself advanced overload techniques, but I know what I'm going to do. Like I know I'm going to do a hold or something because I'm the one doing it when I do it myself. Whereas when I have a coach, they're going to talk me through everything and make me push myself to my absolute max. I would say when I train on my own, I still get to failure. I'm still pushing myself. It's still very intense, but I'm probably pushing myself 94% of my effort. Whereas when I have a coach telling me what to do, I don't want to let them down. So I'm pushing myself 100%.
Yeah, I think the accountability piece is huge and often taken for granted, especially by people, and I'm sure you've had this experience as well, that come to us and maybe they do have a pretty good background in fitness, like they've been training on their own for 15, 20 years, and they're like, I don't need some 20 something year old girl to tell me what I'm supposed to be doing. And then to have that experience of like exactly that accountability. Oh no, you thought you were done. No, we're going to break the weight down. We're going to do something else. I think is so unique, especially in our style of training. Because I go to gyms all over the place whenever I travel. I like to try new gyms when I'm out and about, and I see so many coaches that are just kind of standing there as rep counters and they're not really providing valuable feedback. They're just kind of, the person does their set, they set it down, and then they just wait around for 2 minutes or whatever it is until the next set is. So to have somebody that's an actual exercise physiologist, that's an expert, that's paying attention to every single detail as you're going through, I think is a super unique opportunity. And if any of our listeners have not worked with a coach before, whether it's us or a different company, I think there's a huge difference because obviously, people hear online training and they assume, I've got so many friends who work with online coaches, and I think there's some fantastic online coaches. I mean, my old coach, Jack from Jackson Lean, this shirt that I'm wearing right now, Jack was great. Like he programmed great workouts for me. I would send him in videos so he could give me feedback on my form and things like that. But it's just not the same as having somebody there in the moment. And I think the virtual just allows us the opportunity to do that in a way that's so unique in the online space. So I totally agree. But if somebody did want to try this on their own, instead of just talking about AOTs and what that might be, what would be some tips? Like, I'm doing a workout on my own, I'm doing a set of chest press. Give me some examples of some of those things that you could do on your own to really ramp the intensity up, to maybe if you've never trained to failure before, at least get close to feeling what that experience might actually be like.
Well, first off, if you're trying to get to this point on your own, I would recommend at least one workout with a coach that does this so you can A, execute it safely, and B, really get to the feeling of what it should feel like. Um, but some things that you can do is really making slow transitions. So if you're thinking of a chest press, that bottom half not pushing out, you're going to eliminate any momentum. So you're actually going to feel those muscle fibers contracting. And the slower you move, the harder it's going to be. So if you just slow down your rep speed, you're going to get to that momentary muscle point faster. It's also going to be probably a little bit heavier depending on if you're doing like 3 sets of 10 and you keep the weight the same, depending on what you're currently doing. You might want to ramp up that weight just slightly because you are, again, going to move slower. So it will be harder. The other thing is breathing. So don't hold your breath. When you are pushing out on a chest press, breathing out with it, use your breath to help you. But you will feel that sticking point. And on that sticking point, instead of just like setting the weight down and calling it good, battling with it, making sure like you're stuck on chest press, but you're still trying to push out for another 10 seconds, making sure that you really got to that muscle failure point, because sometimes you can still get that rep. It might take 15 seconds, but you're still moving slowly. And so that's technically not failure yet until you get into that next rep. So battling with it on the last rep and really slowing down that rep speed.
Yeah, I think those are all great pointers, the breathing especially, and just to kind of give people a frame of reference of what the speed is that we're talking about. When I have somebody that's never done this before, if I'm going to have them do like a super slow protocol or something, I'll just have them prop their phone up. And like, I don't think super slow is the end all be all by any means, but I think it's a really nice way to kind of start and feel like, what does actual slow speed of movement look like? So clicking on your timer somewhere where you can see it and try to go up in 10 and down in 10. Like when the clock gets to 10, you should be up, and then you're moving down. And when it gets to 20, you're transitioning back out again. Something like that is a great place to start. And then I think just from like an intensity perspective, because it's so hard, like you said, when people get to the end, I think pushing through for an extra 10 seconds at the end is probably the toughest thing anybody can do from a failure perspective, is just keeping that weight moving. But so many people struggle with that mentally. So doing things like a drop set where you may decrease the weight by 20% and then try to get close to failure again, and then maybe drop it one more time, another 20%, and try that. I think you mentioned rest pauses as well, maybe. So that's setting the weight down, keeping it the same, but waiting 20 to 30 seconds and then going again. All of these are great techniques to elongate the set a little bit, but not so much that you're taking a full rest in between, and then just getting closer and closer to that point of total muscular failure so you can really feel what that's like. If somebody's training on their own, how are some ways to know that you're making progress? Obviously, at Reform Fitness, you and I both, we keep detailed logs for people when they're training. But what are some ways that people can know on their own? Because I think this is something a lot of people struggle with when they first start working out: is how do I know when to progress the weight? How do I know that I'm actually making improvements?
Yeah. When you're on your own, I would recommend keeping track of your weights. So, first off, if you're doing a chest press, write down that weight. And like you said, with the timer on your phone, instead of reps, just because your rep speed might change a little bit time after time, measure that time under tension that you're at. You can also measure reps and record reps, but time under tension is going to give you a little bit more accuracy. When you get to that failure point, look at the stopwatch, look at your phone, the timer, see what time that is, and track that. And then continuously do the same workouts or the same exercises in the same order when you're going. So you might rotate between three total workouts, but doing the same exercises in the same order, writing down that time
Why
under.
is that important? The order of the exercises. Can you explain that a little bit more?
Yes. So order of exercises is important because if you're going to do a pec fly and then a chest press, that chest press is going to differ if you did chest press first, just because your pecs are fatigued after that first set. Especially with high intensity training and this type of training, you're fatiguing those muscle fibers so much to a point where there's nothing left. So if you go into another exercise after that that's using those same muscle fibers, it's going to be different than if you started with a chest press compared to if you ended with a chest press. So making sure you keep those exercises in order, because that can throw off your time under tension.
Yeah, and also, and I know you know this as well. Just if you're doing a full body routine, right? Depending on where you start, right? If you go into the gym one day and you typically start with chest press, but that's taken, so this day you have to start with a pull down instead. Making note of that, because even the pull down is going to affect your chest press later, or vice versa. If you always start with legs, or you finish with legs, but now you have to start with legs, like the overall metabolic fatigue that you feel over the course of your workout is going to impact your other movements. So that's why, as Amy was saying, making sure that you're recording the order of exercises and trying to keep that as similar as possible, or at least making note of it. So, if like, oh my God, I got to a minute and a half last time on this. And why was it only a minute today? Well, it's like you did it fifth in your workout. So that makes a big difference. So talk to me a little bit about the transition for you from when you started training virtually. Do you think that people can expect as good of a workout virtually as in person, especially someone who's done so many in-person workouts and now has done so many virtual workouts?
Oh, absolutely. Um, I think you can expect just as good, if not better, workouts virtually simply because you can do them anywhere. So it might
Yeah.
be better because you don't need to leave your house.
Talk to me a little bit more about that. What are some of the advantages of working with a trainer virtually, specifically a one-on-one virtual trainer, not just an online trainer?
You can do them anywhere while you are on vacation, while you're stuck in your office. I've done a few of those. At the beach, you have no gym access. You can still hop on a call and do your virtual workout no matter where you're at. So the excuse of, or weather, you don't need to drive really anywhere. So the excuses of I can't make it diminish significantly. Same thing with just availability. Being virtual, I notice that I have more availability to switch clients around throughout the day if they need to. So their schedule changes and they're in a work meeting now, during their scheduled workout. Then we can switch it around that day and do it some other time because I'm not in the gym for 8 hours and that's it. I'm working from home virtually, so I can take them on whenever their schedule allows.
Yeah, that's great. And I think the consistency piece is so important. And I know that's where both of us saw a lot of people kind of fall off in person is it's like, yeah, the workout's 30 minutes, but I have to, put my kid in daycare or I'm rushing home in rush hour. So now it's actually 45 minutes to the gym to only do a 30-minute workout. And then I have to go 30 minutes back. So the whole commitment is close to 2 hours now, where it's like, no, just put the kid in the crib when you get home, and then hop into your living room and do your workout there. So it's you're eliminating and giving people back a ton of their time too, which I think for me has been one of the biggest selling points. Especially from a cost perspective, it's like if we're working with high end professionals, what is 2 hours of your time worth? Well, if you're a lawyer, you might be billing $500 an hour. So if I can eliminate an hour and a half, 2 hours from your travel and transverse time to get to the physical gym. Plus, if you were doing an hour workout before, you're looking at $1,000 shift potentially of what somebody could still be making, right? Oh, I can stay in the office an hour later and keep billing people before I head home, because I don't have to fit 2 hours into my schedule now to try to get my hour long workout in. So I think that's a huge selling point for people as well. So talk to me about this transition that you've made as a health coach now, because obviously that term gets thrown around all the time. I think a lot of people, probably our listeners too, don't even really know what that means. You hear health coaches, wellness coaches, life coaches, business coaches. Like, what does being a health coach mean to you, and what exactly do you do in that side of your business?
Yeah, it's everything else that's health related outside of your strength training workouts. So that includes daily movement, making sure you're getting your water in, getting good hydration, sleep, and a little bit aspect of nutrition. Now, with that nutrition, we're not nutritionists. So I'm not going to write you your meal plans and you have to stick to it. It's more of guidance throughout all of these habits and how do you incorporate these habits into your current lifestyle. So you're not hopping on a trend or a new diet that's going to completely 180 your life and you're going to stick to it for maybe 3 weeks and then fall off and all of the progress you made those 3 weeks are gone in another 3 weeks. So it's really building a lifestyle off of your other habits outside of the gym.
And what does that look like? Like, why should somebody want to work with you? And what does working with you as a health coach from a daily, week to week, month to month basis kind of look like?
Well, we'd start with an onboarding call, and those are usually the longest. They're about an hour and a half. And what this is we go over what you're currently doing. So, what are you currently doing for daily movement? What is in your pantry? What do you currently eat? How's your sleep looking? How much water do you drink? And a lot of times people don't even know some of these questions. So it's really going back to what you're doing. And then from there, we build out small habits. Now, I'm not going to make you hit 150 grams of protein on your first week of health coaching because that is pretty unrealistic and would turn your life upside down. So small habits from what you're doing now to how can we get to your ultimate end goal. And those would be weekly one-on-one meetings where you have a tracker, you're tracking everything. You can text me at any point if you have any questions about anything. And then once a week, we would sit down for 30 minutes, in depth, go through your tracker, make any changes that we need to. And every 9 weeks, we kind of revamp that tracker and revamp your habits to get to your ultimate goal.
And you mentioned when you were training in studio as a personal trainer only, that this piece was something that felt like it was missing for you. Can you talk to me a little bit more about what you meant by that?
I almost constantly, it felt like, had people asking me more about what they can do for their nutrition. And with the title of just being an exercise physiologist under the boutique that I was under, you couldn't really give that advice. And I couldn't help people further than when they stepped into the gym and when they stepped out. There was no accountability on anything else other than their workouts. And obviously, people were asking about it, so I knew that they needed it. And I wanted to be able to help in that way. And that's when I ended up getting my behavior change certification. And obviously, I have my psychology degree as well. So all of that kind of tied in, and I knew that I needed to make more of a difference in people's lives than just putting them through a great workout in the gym.
So, who do you think would be a good candidate for health coaching? What's like your ideal candidate look like?
An ideal candidate would be someone who is really looking to lose maybe that last 10 pounds of fat and want to be able to keep it on forever. They're looking at longevity as well. They want to have a very healthy 80, 90-year-old life and not have to, be in a wheelchair. And they might know all of the right things to do. They might know they need to drink water. They know that they need sleep. They know that they need to train. They know they need to eat better, but they don't know how to do it consistently. And so, someone that holds you accountable, so having that coach that holds you accountable, builds this out for you and customizes it, makes it personalized into what your life already looks like, and someone that just needs that accountability.
So you talked a little bit about what the kind of onboarding call looks like, setting somebody up, figuring out what they're currently doing, if they even are aware of what their current routine looks like. What does the continuation of that process look like? Is it weekly check-ins, monthly, once a year? Like how is that process looking for the client, and what kind of value are they getting out of that from you as their health coach?
Generally, I would say once a week check-ins, at least at first, potentially going to once a month check-ins after that. But mainly that looks like a conversation. That looks like us hopping on a 30-minute call to talk about how things are going, health wise and habit wise. But it's the majority them telling me what they're experiencing that's positive, what they're struggling with, how can we combat those struggles, what can we change, um, or what they just really need to focus on more of. So I would say weekly coaching meetings at first. When they feel comfortable, they might be able to change that to monthly or every other week. It's really up to them.
So when somebody starts with you as a health coach, obviously we know with the workouts, that's something they're doing for life. It's like their prescription that they're taking as if they were diabetic and they're taking their insulin, right? They've got to continue to do this if they want to continue to see the results. Is it the same thing with health coaching? When somebody's starting with you, should they be thinking, okay, I can do this for 6 months and I got it? Or is this a continual commitment going forward? What's been your experience like with that?
What my end goal for everyone is that the habits that we build, no matter how long you are doing one-on-one health coaching, but the habits that you build should be in your life forever. So if you think you've got it and you stop health coaching and then you fall off, that's when you'd want to come back and do health coaching again. It is more of a lifelong thing to build out these habits, but my end goal is for you to be able to do that on your own.
And then from a results perspective, you mentioned that last 10 pounds of fat that I feel like a lot of people struggle with. How long, typically, in your experience, have people had to expect to work with you before they get to the results they want? And then is that something where they're done, now you send them off, be free? Or is it like, okay, what's the next thing we're doing?
I would say on average about 10 to 12 weeks to get that 10 pounds of fat off. People that continue, we can revamp their habits to either go further if they want to go further. If they want to maintain where they're at, we'll talk about how to maintain that. And, so and they're not done necessarily unless they want to be done at that time. But I'd like to keep going because the habits are always going to change. If you are at your body composition that you like, then we no longer need to be in such a strict calorie deficit. So we need to make those changes for them particularly.
So for you, obviously, you worked for this other company for a long time, kind of working top down, traditional kind of business, personal trainer setup. Now you're sort of a solopreneur, even though we're both under the Reform Fitness umbrella. I feel like we have a lot more freedom there to kind of build our own business out. So, what is kind of your hope for what your business looks like over the next, say, 5 or 10 years? What do you hope to kind of accomplish as a health coach, as a exercise physiologist? What is sort of your short term goal, and then maybe your BHAG for yourself?
As of now, what I'm doing is what I see myself doing for forever. So, continuing with the one-on-one personal training, I would love to build out my one-on-one health coaching a little bit deeper and have about a 50-50 split in the long term of personal training clients and health coaching clients, which I'm not quite at right now. So that would be more of a long-term goal, but I don't see myself changing or wanting to switch up anything than what I'm doing right now. The only thing is that potentially in the future, I'd love to have a little bit more creativity side of things in the business aspect.
Okay, that's great. And do you want to continue to work remote then? Do you see yourself continuing to be a virtual personal trainer and health coach? And then do you see any sort of shift or change in your business going forward?
I absolutely 100% want to continue doing virtual. It has made a drastic difference in my own life and be having that freedom. Um, in the future, I don't see too much changing, to be honest. I think obviously I don't know what the future holds, but having a system that works and having a schedule that works, um, obviously this could change thinking down the road, kids potentially in the future. That obviously will make things change, but with my life, with what I'm doing right now and what the business looks like right now, I don't see it changing, at least for the short term.
That's great. I mean, to be at your age and kind of feel like you've found what you want to do for the rest of your life is pretty cool because I'm almost 40 and I still have no idea what I want to be when I grow up. So I think that's pretty awesome. Amy, thank you so much for joining me today. I think really cool kind of learning your perspective on HIP philosophy specifically, and then just learning a little bit more about what health coaching means to you and what that looks like. Do you have any advice maybe for someone who's thinking about, I feel like online training is so in vogue right now. Like every 19-year-old that has abs wants to be an online personal trainer. As somebody who's been in the virtual space for a little bit, do you have any advice for someone who's maybe starting out thinking about doing virtual or online personal training, of some things that you've noticed in your experience that could maybe help them in the online training space?
Yeah, I would say building connections, building other connections in the online space because it is hard to reach prospects, reach people that you want to train when you're not seeing them face to face. So, building those connections and also building a social media presence that speaks to your own clientele, speaks to the people that you want to train.
Do you have any specific websites or things that you have noticed have been beneficial for you in your business in doing that?
I have mentioned creativity. I'm a very creative person, so I use Canva a lot to make posts that are appealing.
Okay, that's a great one. And then any particular websites from a networking perspective? Is it purely Instagram, or are you using other social media to kind of grow your business?
Mainly Instagram and LinkedIn.
Okay. Yeah, I think LinkedIn is one that probably gets overlooked a lot.
Yeah.
But I think that's a great one to definitely dive into and expand your network for sure. Now, if people want to learn more about you or reach out to potentially work with you, if they're interested, what's the best way to get in touch with you? You can maybe share your social. Obviously, people can look you up on LinkedIn at just Amy Walz. But share any sort of contact info you have before we wrap up here.
Yeah, email would probably be best mode of contact. I would respond to the quickest, which is amy at reformed-fitness.com. I also have Instagram, which I don't check as frequently, but I will respond if anyone has a message on there. And that is Amy with two Y's and then Walls.
Got it. Awesome. Amy, thank you so much for joining me today. Anything else you want to add before I let you go?
I don't think so. It was a pleasure to be here.
Yeah, it was great to have you. Thanks everyone for listening. We'll be back in a couple weeks. Make sure to like and subscribe, and we will see you on the next episode of Exercise is Bullshit.